Good dog.
Hey, okay, let's just get right to it. So, there's a lot going on right now, and I don't want this to be a video about, being preachy or condemning anybody. It's just, I feel like there's so much conversation on, how to be a good ally, and it's really not that hard. Stop and think what's going on, do a little research, and try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's it. I think a good example, although it might not seem like it at first, is something that's happening right now with the whole entire Aunt Jemima thing. Bear with me. So Aunt Jemima's just more than a little bit problematic. And part of the problem is you have a whole bunch of people who don't understand why it's problematic. And it's not necessarily their fault. It doesn't make them a racist. The reason why I think this is a really good example is, so you have Aunt Jemima, you have the syrup, and, you have a whole bunch of white people when they were little being like, oh, I'm having breakfast, I'm, having my waffles and my pancakes, and, I'm gonna have some maple syrup. And here's this, nice smiling black lady where the syrup comes from, and you're like, yay! And it's not really maple syrup, it's more like sugar water. Anyway, there's better maple syrups, but that's not the point. So you have a whole bunch of people who have, these memories, no bad connotation from Aunt Jemima. So many little kids, little white kids. But the problem is that just because you have good memories about like this maple syrup and whatever, and it doesn't mean anything to you, and you're like, how's this racist? It is. Not you per se. The brand in and of itself is based off of this, racist depiction of this black woman. The original, imagery for Aunt Jemima was hella racist. Really, really super racist and everything about it. And even though the picture has changed over the years and it's not looking as racist, just because you make a picture nicer doesn't mean that it's any less racist. It's just not as apparent. And that might not be your memory of it, but it doesn't erase the history of it. And I think that's what's tricky and problematic for a lot of people, because they look at that and they're like, I don't get it. But once you actually stop and think and then research just a little bit, doesn't take much, to look into something, you're like, huh, okay, that's a little bit different. And then the next thing that you have to do is put yourself in somebody else's shoes and be like, well, if I were a black person and seeing this all the time, how would that make me feel? I think it's one of those subtle reminders of everyday racism that, somebody else has to go through. It's why when people are like, oh, all lives matter, things like that, where it gets to be a little bit problematic, because yeah, everybody's life matters, yes. But the thing is, certain people are definitely being singled out more so than others, and it's literally killing them. So Aunt Jemima is just like a drop in the pan. The point of this conversation is black people, because I don't know, they're getting murdered all over the place. How do we fix that? It's not that there's so many more black people in the last couple of weeks who are getting murdered by cops, they're just getting noticed and they're getting attention. Hopefully this is a tipping point and some good will come from this, but it's so messed up to think about how many people were unjustly murdered or abused or put into comas, that aren't being talked about and wouldn't even be seen without things like cell phones or other cameras that are at play. You think back into like easily the 80s and 90s and stuff, and how many things just happened. If you do want to be an ally, Don't just, call or text or harass your black friends and be like, what can I do? I don't know, you know your friends. If you can ask one of them, fine. But the thing is, it's not their job. It's not their responsibility, and I guarantee you they're doing more important things than having to field all the questions from Becky and Karen on to how to be better white people. You can just be a better white person by just stopping, thinking, researching, putting yourself in their situation, or trying to. That's where change comes from. That's what's gonna help black people, people of color, the LGBTQ, is there an I there? I'm horrible at this. Your neighbor. It's what's going to help anybody when you're looking at something and you don't understand. That's it. Support black business, support local black business, there's all sorts of things that you can do. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that people could do, or what the biggest change would be, is just thinking. We should try that more often. I don't want to keep on saying the same thing over and over again, but, be a good ally, be a good friend. I hope this reaches somebody that might make a difference, but I'm not counting on it. But, I just seeing everything that's going on lately, I feel like I just had to say something, I don't know, it's super frustrating right now. And if it's frustrating for me, I can't imagine what it's like for somebody that it really affects. So, yeah, don't be a shitty person. I think that's really what it is. This isn't a political issue, it's a humanity issue. So, run with that. Thanks for watching, both of you.